It's NaLyssa Smith, and I'm sorry, hashtag free her. 10 toes down, hashtag free her. Let her go.
It's NaLyssa Smith, and I'm sorry, hashtag free her. 10 toes down, hashtag free her. Let her go. Caitlin Clark just dropped an absolute bombshell after NaLyssa Smith got canned, and honestly, this might go down as one of the most satisfying decisions in WNBA history. The Indiana Fever dropped 2 matches back-to-back, and who do we have to thank for that? Yet the one and only NaLyssa Smith, a player so self-absorbed she makes a black hole look humble. She's like that one toxic fish ruining the whole pond, except she's out here wrecking an entire basketball team. Instead, you've got one of the laziest defenders. Smith played for herself. No concept of teamwork, no interest in giving the ball to someone more open, and every single time she got possession she treated it like her golden opportunity to be the solo hero. Pathetic. Her constant me-first antics, everything was NaLyssa Smith. She was like, we want players that will embrace, that will fit in seamlessly with our core 3, which includes KY Mitchell. We want players to fit in seamlessly with the core 3. We want players that will play a role and will embrace their role, and we want players that will fit in with the culture and the team. They were like a car crash in slow motion. The Fever's performance took a nosedive thanks to her, and honestly, it's about time someone put a stop to it. That second quarter of being able to get in there and go right back to the paint, I think, was a real smart move for Chrissy Sigr. Smith is still slow to get up now. Making her way back over here to NaLyssa Smith has officially been kicked to the curb by the Indiana Fever, and it was long overdue. What was hyped as a star-studded WNBA career quickly unraveled into a full-blown disaster. Remember the build-up. Smith was the number 2 overall pick in the 2022 WNBA draft, and everyone was in over themselves, calling her the future of the team, a cornerstone player. They said fast forward to abysmal seasons, and it's nothing but shattered expectations and a heap of disappointment. Like every time NaLyssa Smith goes on like an individual run, even the team's not playing well. D tweets something POS about NaLyssa, about like, oh, it's great when she gets a chance. And then like, I can't remember what game it was, like she did well statistically. Let's talk about the numbers, shall we? Smith's game nose-dived in her 2nd season, and when I say nose-dived I mean it crashed harder than a malfunctioning roller coaster. Her points per game, shooting accuracy, and defensive stats didn't just dip, they collapsed. It's like she suddenly forgot how to play basketball. Want the brutal truth? The Indiana Fever actually had a better defense when she was riding the pine. You read that right. Her absence improved the team. Imagine being so bad at defense that your coach breathed a sigh of relief when you're on the bench. It's like she couldn't defend a traffic cone, let alone a WNBA level player. But the team wasn't playing well when she was cooking. She got taken off. I think they won the game, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, she quote tweeted DJ's tweet being like, it was fun while it lasted, and I'm like, man, like, you are statistically the worst player, and don't even get me started on the self-centered style of play. While Caitlin Clark was busting her tail to get the team into a winning groove, Smith was busy playing hero ball. Oh, those offensive possessions, it was like watching a one-woman wrecking crew in action, except the only thing getting wrecked was the Fever's chance at a decent game. Selfish drives into double coverage bricks from deep that had no business being taken, even when Clark or other teammates stood wide open waving like inflatable tub of men in a car dealership. Smith still insisted on forcing up a shot. It was so painful to watch, you'd almost think she was auditioning for a role as the WNBA's most frustrating player. She talked about defense needing people for defense, and when you can't really say talk about the culture when you've got one of the laziest defenders. But wait, it gets even crazier. But here's where it gets ugly. The locker room. The moment Caitlin Clark got poked in the eye during a game was a low point for the whole squad. So what does Smith do? Console her, show support? Nope. While the rest of the team rallied around her, Smith treated it like open mic, cracking jokes at Clark's expense. Seriously, NaLyssa, your teammate is down, and that's your response? Imagine busting your tail for the team like Clark does, only to watch your supposed teammate turn your pain into a punchline, and she has less value to Fever and Graceburg and more value tonight. It wasn't just disrespectful, it was downright pathetic. Clark, who plays her heart out every single game, deserved way better. That little episode wasn't just cringeworthy, it was betrayal, plain and simple. The trust within the team shattered, and morale hit rock bottom. It sent a message loud and clear. Smith was about Smith, not the team. The morale of the Fever tanked, and I don't blame them. Former head coach Christy Sides deserves a standing ovation for dealing with Smith's drama. The woman tried everything to hold the squad together, but how do you manage a team when one of your so-called leaders is too busy throwing a diva tantrum? On the court, Smith's selfish play made it impossible for sides to implement any strategy that didn't involve praying for a miracle. When the Fever eventually axed their coach, the fingerprints of Smith's antics were all over that decision. Smith's unwillingness to adapt or even attempt to fit into a team-first mentality, that's what ultimately tanked Sid's efforts. By the time the Fever let go of sides, it was obvious Smith's ego had driven the team into a wall. Enter Stephanie White, the new head coach, who has zero patience for egotistical nonsense. White laid down the law from day one. The Fever are about teamwork, hustle, and cutting out toxicity like a bad habit. Guess who didn't fit that mold? NaLyssa. Smith White is building a team of players who put their egos aside and sacrifice for wins. Smith did the exact opposite. Lazy defense, no team spirit, and a complete disregard for White's vision of winning culture. It's like Smith was determined to prove she was more trouble than she was worth. She wants players that can embrace their roles. White wasn't here to coddle anyone. Her mission: discipline, teamwork, and cutting out toxic distractions. Naturally, Smith didn't fit that vision. Her selfishness clashed so hard with White's culture of unity, it was like watching a wrecking ball collide with a brick wall. White wants players who will sacrifice for the greater good, not divas who think they're God's gift to basketball, like sometimes when she takes off looking like she's going to yam it from outside the key. Now let's address the off-court drama that Smith seemed to treat as her second career. Her family absolutely unhinged. Her relatives turned social media into their personal battleground, launching attacks on anyone and everyone. They were picking fights with fans, trash-talking the Fever's coaching staff, and slinging insults like it was their full-time job. Every time the Fever tried to focus on, actual basketball, Smith's family would ignite yet another social media dumpster fire. The organization must have been in perpetual damage control, constantly putting out these absurdly unnecessary blazes. The endless online warfare poisoned team morale, creating distractions that no professional franchise should ever have to deal with. Her brother caused a lot of drama on social media, and the problem is, if your family and the people you're going home to have Twitter fingers and you're hearing you can't get away from it, like for all of these other players, they can just delete the Twitter app on their phone and they don't really see anything. And here's where Smith really dug her own grave. She knew her family's social media circus was wrecking her reputation, but did she do anything about it? Nope. Boundaries non-existent. She stayed tied to her Twitter-happy relatives, letting them turn her career into a punchline. Her teammates lost all respect for her. Watching the never-ending chaos unfold, it became painfully obvious Smith couldn't or wouldn't stand up to her family's toxicity. And in a world where professional accountability matters, that's a colossal red flag. She didn't just damage her own image, she trashed the team's chemistry too. And I have one on the side. It's in Chinese, and it says family forever. And it's a family tattoo. We're all getting. My brother had got it first and I had decided to get it, and my parents are going to get it too, so it's going to be a tattoo that's like within the family. Now let's contrast that hot mess with the rising star of Caitlin Clark. While Smith was tanking both on and off the court, Clark was out here rewriting history. This woman isn't just good, she's a game changer, the all-time leading scorer in college basketball, and now the Fever's clutch performer. Clark's got the stats, the skills, and most importantly, the selflessness that makes everyone around her better. We're talking about a player who puts up 30-plus points in must-win games and somehow does it without hogging the spotlight. Clark elevates her team with every play, every pass, every possession. Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark, and Leah Boston is the opposite of what NaLyssa Smith is like. NaLyssa Smith is not a player that can fit in. She has to fit out, like she has to be one of the first 2 or 3, like she doesn't have to be a number 1 option, but like she can't be. Clark distributed the ball, setting her teammates up for success, while Smith was out there playing solo ball, contested fadeaways, idiotic drives straight into defenders, and shots that had no business being taken. It was as if Smith was running a one-woman highlight reel, even when her teammates were practically waving neon signs, begging for the ball. Her boneheaded decisions cost the Fever games, and she still didn't seem to care. What maybe, just maybe, she end